Okay, right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Occupational Therapy Integration Theatre. If you haven't been in today already, we've had a string of amazing presentations, and everyone's done really well. It's been very interesting. So carrying on, I'm very pleased to introduce you to Sue Elchingham, who's going to give us a quick run through interoception, which I can never say properly because I've got the right speaking. So I'll leave you with Sue.
Thank you, Jane. Hello, thank you, everybody. I'm not quite as proficient as Sarah with her no notes talk, so I'm going to be heavily reliant on mine. I'm Sue Elchingham. I'm an occupational therapist within the autism team at KCC, where I've been for the past 6 years. And I've had to rope in Kat as my lovely assistant today, as my colleague Fiona, who was supposed to be here, is unable to be here. So thank you, Kat, for helping out. So it's lovely to be here and actually be amongst real humans at last. So I needed a couple of guinea pigs later on, so I'm quite pleased to be here and not on Zoom. I was in group supervision a while ago with Jane, and I was discussing some of the work that we do in the autism team. And around the work that we do with interoception, and it sort of transpired in that meeting that none of the other OTs had even sort of heard of it. So Jane's eyes lit up and said, you know, would I come and talk today? So here I am. But I don't profess to be an expert in this field, but it's a really fascinating area. And I just wanted to share with you sort of basic awareness of interoception and the effects that poor interoception, and it can have sort of poor interoception awareness can have on sort of ADLs. I'm going to give you a few examples and some of the strategies that you know, we can use with people that we work with, but it can also be for anybody who's struggling to interpret their body sensations or emotions. Now, our team, the adult autism team, they work with people on the autistic spectrum but without a learning disability. So, you know, the work I'm discussing today is the work related to our team. So I can't go any further without mentioning the queen of interoception. This lady's called Kelly Marler. She's an American OT and has got an incredibly impressive CV, and she's been involved in a number of research projects, and she's written several books. She still looks young enough to be my daughter, but she is an amazing OT. And if you're interested in this area, this book here, Interoception, the Eighth Sensory Sense, is a very good place to start. So do look up her work. Now, many of you will know that I previously worked with an OT called Sandra Gasson. And Sandra and I went to a 2-day training course with Kelly, probably about 2 years ago now. And after we attended the training, we really realised that the effects that poor interoception was having on some of the people that we worked with. We wanted to incorporate the knowledge that we gained at this training into our daily practice. So Sandra and I spent a long time putting together some interoception awareness, the assessments and the workshops, and really using Kelly Marler's model as the basis for our work. And we were just ready to go. And then, of course, COVID struck. So the sort of rug got pulled from under our feet. So Sandra and I decided, rather than sort of wasting all that new knowledge, we put together a series of webinars. We started with just a basic introduction, which quite a lot I'm going to go through today. But we also did 5 others around anxiety, eating and drinking, temperature and pain, sights and sounds, and toileting, and all of those linked to sort of poor interoception awareness. We've put all of the webinars that we produced are actually on YouTube, and I've got the link on one of the slides later on. So if you are really bored one night, you can do a binge watch of all 6, but you know, they're all there, and do have a look at those. They go to a much sort of deeper level of what I'm just going to touch on today. So Kelly Marler, again, I've said about her book, but she also has a website here. There's really excellent resources on there, but I would really strongly recommend, if you're thinking of using any of the introduction to interoception, any of the assessments or her tools, that you do really need to do the 2-day training. I think she might be coming back to Britain. I think it was supposed to be this year, but probably postponed. So watch this space, or have a look on her website. So absolutely, don't doubt everyone in the room knows the main senses, sight, smell, etc. Vestibular, proprioception. But interoception is now actually being seen as and recognised as the 8th sensory sense. And the unique job of our interoception sense is to enable us to feel inside our bodies. So it allows us to feel internal sensations coming from many areas of our body. Now, Kelly Marler refers to these as body signals, but we felt the term body sensations was a better fit for our client group. Yeah. So the ability to notice your body sensations and connect them to an emotion is often referred to as the interoception awareness, or IA. And IA, interoception awareness, it's comprised of 2 main parts. So one, it's the ability to notice how the body feels, what body sensations, what they feel inside your body. And 2, it's the ability to connect the body sensations to an emotion, i.e., what do these body sensations mean? What am I experiencing? So clearly noticing and understanding these body sensations helps us to identify exactly how we're feeling. So for example, this is actually me. You can probably hear my voice is slightly shaking. My stomach's fluttering, you know, hands are probably shaking a bit as well. Even though I've done lots of these, I always get, nervous. Okay, so I'm feeling nervous. If you're thinking about another sensation and how your body feels, you've got goosebumps on your skin, you tight fists, shivery muscles, well, you're cold. You know, these are 2 examples, simple examples of interoception awareness. And that allows you to use the information from your interoceptive sense to answer the question, you know, how do I feel? Okay, so just going to point something out in a minute. The general term agreed for poor interoception awareness, which is what I'm using today, but you would generally be using atypical interoception awareness rather than using the term poor. You know, it's one of those sort of terminology things. I'm using poor today because of being online. If I keep flicking between typical and atypical, it can get a bit confusing, but that would be generally the atypical instead of poor. It's a sliding scale, so a bit like autism is a sliding scale. So some people have typical levels of interoception awareness at the far end, and then you can have poor interoception awareness, and some people would fit in the middle, somewhere in between. So additionally, some people can have typical IA and really clear emotional awareness with respect to certain emotions. So they might have an awareness of when to go to the toilet, when to eat, but they might have poor IA and unclear emotional awareness with respect to other emotions, such as high levels of anxiety or sensory overload. And that's a combination that we see typically quite a lot in the autism team. Interoception awareness can be poor due to a variety of reasons, so including the body sensations can be too big. In other words, body sensations are really strong and overloading, and often body sensations are all happening all at once. Or they can also be too small, that body sensations are so small and can be completely unnoticed. So I've roped in Kat, and I just want Kat, she's going to read a quote from a young lady that Kelly Marler was working with, just to give you an example of what that can feel like. Thank you, Kat.
I do not notice my emotions getting stronger, especially when I'm frustrated. When other people notice that I'm showing signs of frustration, my mum, teachers will ask me, "What's wrong, Sarah? This is so irritating because my body feels fine." Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seems that I'm in a state of explosion, where I'm so angry, I'm hard to handle. My body suddenly feels horrible. I'm screaming, crying, reacting like anyone does when they're over the edge.
Thank you. So what that young lady is experiencing, you know, she's often, you know, having what we often hear about calling a meltdown, but she's having that meltdown and not recognizing any of the physical body sensations, giving her a clue that she's building up to this. And I think, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, the lady who was doing the zones of regulation, Lisa. You know, Lisa was doing her talk earlier about zones of regulation. You know, this lady's right in the red, but she hasn't noticed any of those physical symptoms leading up to that or giving any clues. So evidence really suggests that poor interoception awareness leads to difficulties with emotional regulation. And there's a clear link between interoception awareness and self-regulation. If you're interested in this area, I'd also really recommend that you look into the work by a lady called Dr. Sarah Garfinkel and her research into interoception and emotions. She's got really lots of fascinating work around the insula in the brain, and that the insula is key for sensing of internal body sensations as a means to form emotional experiences. Dr. Garfinkel says that having early access to internal body signals can help individuals self-regulate. So it's a really, really strong link between these two. So clear awareness of your body sensations gives you important feedback about exactly how you're feeling, as well as important information about your current situation. So any work around zones of regulation or self-regulation, I'd really strongly be recommending researching further into interoception. And Kelly Marler states that typical levels of interoception awareness is one of the biggest indicators of the ability to independently self-regulate. I've put the references to Dr. Garfinkel's work at the end as well, if you do want to look into that further. So the ability to achieve independent self-regulation, you need to be able to notice, connect, and regulate or take action. So again, if you're feeling cold, somebody to be able to take action and self-regulate, they're going to be moving somewhere warmer or putting on additional clothing. So I just want to focus for a minute around interoception and eating and drinking and the effect that poor interoception awareness in these areas, and some examples of the people that we work with and how it's affecting their daily activities. So people with typical interoception awareness be able to recognize when you feel like this. I'm quite sure a lot of the people in the room can relate to feeling hangry, you know, irritable, bad-tempered, and, you know, of the results of feeling hungry. But if you've got poor IA, you may be really hungry, but you're not able to notice that body sensation that's telling the rest of us often to go and get something to eat. So I worked with a young man, and he was having really bad difficulties at college. And by the afternoons, he was getting into all sorts of trouble, being rude to staff, aggressive with his peers, full meltdowns. And, you know, he'd been at the college for a while. He knew where the cafe was. He knew he had money in his wallet. He knew how to buy food. You know, he knew all these things. He knew how to do it, but he just did not recognize the sensation that he was getting hungry. So by the end of the day, you know, he had all these issues, meltdowns. And by then he's so in the red zone and frustrated, he's not able to eat. And just too emotional. So really negative impact on his daily activity, actually leading to a breakdown in his education. So, you know, how do you support someone who has got poor interoception awareness and that they don't recognize their body sensations? Well, really, it's lots and lots of hard work and practicing the strategies from Kelly Marler's training and from her curriculum. You need to be able to gain the skills and to put them into practice with the people you're supporting. So, sorry, Kat, just that book. So, this is the Kat read from this book earlier. So this is Kelly Marler's curriculum, and if I can just I'll pop that down there. But she, in the book, the curriculum is aiming to support someone to learn how to recognise the body sensations that are linked to each body part. So I'm just going to look at sort of 2 examples from that curriculum of 2 body parts. The curriculum covers 16 body parts. For each body part, there's a full lesson plan, and the same strategy would be used for each of the body parts. So I'm just going to give you a very quick snippet of how that curriculum can work. So keeping the focus on the emotion of feeling hungry and linking to the sensations coming from the stomach. So first step is to practice to notice how your body feels. So in this case, recognizing the sensations coming from the stomach and where it is in your body. Second step, connect what this sensation means, noticing when your stomach is empty or full, and recognizing this sensation, but also being able to use a describing word to describe the sensation. And thirdly, the step would be taking action. So when your stomach is empty or full, I'm sort of focusing on your stomach being empty, but again, just as important to recognize if your stomach's full. If you don't recognize when the sensation of needing to stop eating can lead to the sensation of feeling sick or being sick, gaining weight, becoming obese, again, leading to other health conditions. So it's really important to be able to recognize when you're hungry, as it's just as important to recognize when you're full. Thank you. Am I back? Thank you. Rescued me. Right. A bit dangerous with the gadget. So if you're supporting someone with poor IA, it's important just to start with, do they know where their stomach is in their body? Ask them to show you where their stomach is in their body. Can they put their hand on the right area? And then, can they describe feelings, sensations of what sensation is coming from their stomach? So this is just one suggestion from the curriculum. So you could start by getting that person to create a chart, draw a chart for them and get them to write down words that they can think of to describe, how their stomach can feel. Can they come up with any words? And something that we talked about in the zones of regulation talk is really important, that any word is okay. If it's meaningful to that person, that word is okay. If it takes you by surprise or it isn't a word that you would use to describe your stomach, as long as it's meaningful to that person, that's an okay word to write down on their chart. So just to sort of while we've got a live audience, has anybody got any words? I was going to ask Kat to write them down, but just shout out, how can your stomach feel? Anybody got a word? Empty, yeah. Bloated, grumbles, yeah. So, that's the sort of words that you could write down, okay? We've got empty, grumbles, growling, fluttery, or mine was earlier, nauseous, that's just some examples. So, that's really helpful, getting people to describe so you understand what words they are trying to give to you. Okay. And again, the same with the mouth, thinking about being thirsty and linking that sensation to your mouth. Where is it on your face? How can your mouth feel? Got any words for the mouth? How can your mouth feel? Dry. Yeah. So again, we've all come out with that one because it's quite hot in here probably. But there's a whole host of words. Empty, tight. My mouth can feel too much. People can get all sorts of sensations, and it can be a clue. It might be leading the way their mouth is feeling. It might be linking to the zones. It could be that's a signal. They might be going up a zone. They might be going from yellow to red if their mouth feels tight. So it's really useful to get these describing words. So, we are all able in this room to shout out words and think about linking them to your body part. But you might be supporting somebody who is really struggling, could be a wall of silence. They can't think of any words to give you. They don't know where to start. So Kelly Marler's thought of everything. She's thought of how that could work, and she has a whole box of activity cards. I'm kind of not scared, not going to tip them out, but she's got a whole pack of cards here, and they're full of activities to help the person you're supporting sort of begin to think about how they can come up with a describing word. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. So I've got this one here. So I think I've got planted a guinea pig in the audience. So if you've got a drink of water, so if somebody got this card, think about their mouth, they're just coming up with nothing. But you might ask them to have a sip of water. So my guinea pig, thank you, Rachel. So how does that feel? She's just taken a sip of water, cold. So, you know, you actually get them to physically do something. There's hundreds of these. There's obviously 16 body parts. So there's 16 cards inside here. And just going to give you another example. Who was going to help me with this? Sarah, thank you. So gently rub your tongue back and forth on the roof of your mouth a few times. You can all do it if you want. Okay, so how's that making your mouth feel? Tickly, yeah? So, you know, instantly it's giving you a clue and helping that person with a physical activity. And I'll leave them up there if you want to come and have a look, but they're brilliant. And there's all sorts of activities that you wouldn't have thought possible. So finally, you know, the step 3 is about connecting the sensations and being able to describe the sensation with a word or words. So just what we've been talking about. So empty stomach, and then linking it to the action, going to get something to eat. And it just comes with lots and lots of practice, especially if you're learning to recognize the body sensations of, for example, feeling hungry, or the body sensation of feeling thirsty. So it really is, I've just given you a whistle-stop tour of sort of Kelly Marler's work and some of her resources and things and how it can work. Yeah, lots and lots of resources. I would go back to Kelly Marler's website, look at her books if you're interested in this work. These are the links on YouTube. I was talking to the webinars. There's much more detail. I've just pinched out a few bits from our webinars, really. But I hope you found it interesting. But I really recommend, it's a fascinating area of work. And I sort of think if you are, you know, working or any of the staff supporting people with challenges around self-regulation, that's really an area worth researching into. Thank you very much. And I don't know if anybody has got any questions at all. Good luck.
But I can see it's given me more of an awareness as a parent of some of those cards, because he's still developing those skills.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, it is really interesting. And I think, you know, yeah, there's some really brilliant resources, and there's also a very interesting book. I don't know, there's one, she's developed it for young people. It's quite pediatric based. She's done most of her work with children, but you can adapt it. But there's a very interesting book now. Sorry, the title has gone out of my head, but it's specifically for teenagers, and it's geared towards teenagers rather than just pediatrics. It's really, really good.
Written by her.
Yes, same lady, Kelly Marler, and it's a whole curriculum around sort of specifically aimed at teenagers. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all parents in the room could probably do with my
Yeah.
But it's fascinating,
Yeah.
and I know why I brought Sue in after our supervision now, because I was just like amazed. I mean, it's so interesting to understand what's behind what people are doing, how they're presenting, what's going on, isn't it? And understanding, you know, that just because they're doing something, it's not, you know, it's not directly linked. It could be just, you know, like Sue said, it's because they're hungry. Actually, that's why they're kicking off, but they don't realise that. And I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
really interesting. So I'm going to suggest you take your stuff over to the OT meet and greet area.
Mhm.
So if anybody who actually wants to carry on talking to Sue and looking at some of her
Yeah.
resources, then she'll be over there for a bit if you want to go and talk to
Yeah.
her. Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Have we got any questions virtually?
We got one comment.
Okay.
Anne-Marie said it would be brilliant to use with people with dementia due to communication barriers and articulating their needs. That's what people agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, especially the cards and resources are really good. And as I say, there's a sort of absolute wealth of knowledge in there. And I think it could be used for any client group. As I say, we've only used it within the autism team, but I definitely think it could be used, in a variety of ways. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, it's got a lot of applications, doesn't
Yeah.
it, really? I can think of
Yeah.
all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
brilliant. Thanks, Sue.